Okay, for starters, a little bit about me. I'm a student over at Ooligan Press, the Portland State University's student-run publishing company, and as such, over there, my role right now is I'm the digital content guy. So one of the things that I went into the conference thinking was about XML, because I had been to the Pub West conference and I knew that XML was the big buzzword, and everybody was talking about it and saying, this is a really important thing. People need to get their books into XML. I was like, okay, well, if we need to get our books into XML, how are we going to do it, and how are we going to integrate it into our workflow? How are we going to make it work easiest to have the books go from the Word document the author sends us into XML? And that was one of the big things that I wanted to learn about at the conference. So, with that in mind, here's what I learned. XML. The first question is, what is it? It's extensible markup language. It's a markup language very similar to sort of type coding or to HTML. You put tags throughout your document that that indicate what's going on in the document. One of the important things to think about with XML is making these little tags more semantic than stylistic. So they shouldn't be tags that are saying, this is italic. They should be tags that are saying, this is a title, or this is a foreign word. And then you can go and say, okay, foreign words all need to be italic, titles all need to be italic. But if you have something else that you want to do with a title, you can do that really easily, and you won't change all the foreign words as well. Right, so that's one of the keys of XML. The other really powerful thing about it that differentiates it a little bit from things like HTML and type coding is that it's extensible. So not just a markup language, it's extensible, which means that you can change it, you can extend it, you can add more elements to it, so that you can say, okay, if this is a book that's about history, then I should have tags, not just a general date tag, but I should probably also have a century tag. I should have an approximate date tag. Maybe I want regional tags so that I can say this is stuff that's happening in this area. And you'll need much different information in that than you would in, say, a cookbook, where you want to have ingredients tags and quantity tags and measurement tags, all these sorts of things. So, and then the other thing that XML carries is it carries along a whole lot of metadata. This starts to get into what Victoria was talking about. What is the metadata? It's data about data. So this is information like who's the publisher, who's the author, who distributes the book, all these kinds of things. When was the publication date? And this is where standards get to be really important, because if you don't have a standard communication, if you don't have standards in your metadata, then I have all this metadata encoded in my book, and I send it to you, and you're using a different standard. All that's out the window. So metadata is increasingly important. So where all these elements come from in your XML document is a thing called a document type definition, a DTD. And what that is, that's where you can define all of these little parts that you want to plug in. There are a number of document type definitions. There's a huge number of them, and some of them are good for financial stuff, some of them are good for cookbooks and things, some of them are good for help manuals. The important thing, though, is that you want to try to avoid your Tower of Babel phenomenon, right? You don't want everybody to be using a different DTD. You want it to be as standard as possible, as Victoria was saying. So all these DTDs which ones do we choose from? And there are several different ones that are good. One of the common qualities that they all have is they're based in something that's called the Dublin core, which is not from Dublin in Ireland. It's a Dublin in Illinois or Ohio or somewhere like that. And what the Dublin core is it's a standard for metadata. A whole bunch of different DTDs subscribe to the Dublin core, and basically that ensures that they can share their metadata back and forth a bit. There are a number of different DTDs that do this. You've got things like DTBook, which is a pretty practical sort of middle ground one that isn't too huge, doesn't have too many elements, but it's also not too strict and confining. It's used in EPUB, which is the sort of the buzzword about it seems to be it's the emerging standard for ebooks, and also Daisy uses it. Daisy's a platform that's really big for books for the visually impaired, things that read themselves aloud, or they had one really neat display of a device that you could hook up to a computer that would read a Daisy file and enable blind people to actually feel a map on a piece of paper. So it would push up, you'd run it through a printer for Braille, and it would put all the dots on the map, and you'd put it on this reader. You could feel the map, and the computer would know where you were touching. And if you were touching a map of Europe, it would say France, population, whatever, and carry on like that. Pretty neat stuff. Then there's DITA, which is a much more sort of modular one that's used for things like troubleshooting files, where it's topic based. So you have one little topic, another little topic, another little topic. It's more granular. DocBook is another big one. Onyx is really big for metadata. Yeah, those are some of the larger DTDs.